Hello, hello. It's me, Arden Lee. I am back today with another video, and today we are going to be talking about one of the most commonplace habits that people do that keeps them stuck in a miserable mindset, and what you can do if you notice that you're doing this, and you can start today to get yourself back on track into your happiness and success. So I am the creator of the Repatterning Project. Before we get into our talk, I want to let you know that if you want to learn a little bit more about what we do to hack your beliefs in order to optimize your life for success and happiness, you can check out our work in a free PDF that I have put the link in the description box of this video. There's also a free Facebook group that you can join to get all of your questions answered, find support from like-minded peers, and that link is also in the description box, so do go ahead and check those things out. The thing I want to talk to you about today is negative self-talk, and oh my gosh, how often do you do this to yourself? How often do you see your friends do this to themselves as well? And it's completely all in our heads, and we make ourselves miserable with it all the time. So we might be walking down the street, and maybe, we make a mistake, we bump into a door by accident, or we trip in front of someone that we think is attractive, and immediately, not only is it bad enough that we just made some sort of embarrassing mistake, but then we beat ourselves up for it over and over and over again. We do something silly, we do something stupid that's not in our own best interest. I do this to myself all the time when I misplace things. If I misplace my keys, that's the number one thing that my brain starts going with, oh my God, I'm such a dizzy bitch, how can I be so stupid, et cetera, et cetera. So not only is it bad enough that, I did something that that I didn't want to do, that I didn't intend to do, but now I'm making it even worse by exacerbating my experience of that moment by beating myself up over it. And the remarkable thing about this kind of behavior is that we would never do this to another person. We would never do this to a friend. We probably wouldn't even do it to our worst enemy. If I lost my keys and I'm in my head thinking, oh my God, I'm such a dizzy bitch, I'm so stupid, how could I misplace my keys of all things? Could you imagine if I had one of my best friends over at my house and they misplaced their keys, and all of a sudden, they were trying to leave my house and they're like, oh no, I can't find the keys to my car, where did I put them? I must have put them down somewhere. Could you imagine if I was like, oh my God, you're so stupid. How could you possibly lose your keys? Your keys? Really? Come on. That would be ridiculous. I would never in a million years do that. And you probably wouldn't either. But we do it to ourselves in our own heads all the time. And it really messes us up. And this is something that we can stop immediately today. I want you to start practicing for me. Start being mindful of the moments in which you do this. Start being mindful of the situations in when this arises and where that's common, so you can start to notice in what situations you start having that kind of negative self-talk going on in your head, so you can stop it immediately. And notice it in the moment as you're doing it. No matter what situation you're in, if you can start to hear yourself, if you can start to become more and more conscious, more and more cognizant of that voice that is going on in your head, then you can stop it in the moment. And we all do this. And also, it's important not to beat ourselves up for negative self-talk, because that also defeats the purpose, right? I do that too sometimes. It's like, oh God, I'm negative self-talking again. Why am I doing that, right? And then I beat myself up for beating myself up. And that is probably the least productive thing that I could do with my time or my energy or my thoughts. So what I want you to do is I want you to start noticing when this comes up for you, when you start to have those, that dialogue in your head. And we all have that voice in our head. We all have that voice that, that speaks to us in a language that we're familiar with. And we hear those words, it's very specific. It's not just energy. It's not just thoughts. It's not just feelings or emotions. Oftentimes it's words that are happening in our heads. So we can start to become more and more conscious of those. So as you're starting to listen to that voice on a more mindful level, if you notice yourself starting to slip into that negative self-talk, I want you to start just stopping it right there and say, no, that's not true. If I lose my keys, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stupid, how could I lose my keys? I stop in the moment, I'm like, that's not true, I'm not stupid. I know I'm not stupid, I know that I'm a smart person. So I say to myself, I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm not stupid. I'm a smart person who happens to have a lot on her mind today. I've got a lot on my to-do list. And because I wasn't thinking about it in the moment, I put my keys down somewhere, and now I don't know where they are. But you know what? They've got to be in the house somewhere. So just chill out and look around. And sure enough, I'm going to find them sooner or later. And so it's not actually about, it's not really actually about whether I find my keys or not, or what's the most efficient way for me to find them, but it is about what is helpful and what is not helpful for what's going on in my head at the moment and how I'm talking to myself. It's about my relationship with myself. It's about how I'm treating myself. Because of course, the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you treat yourself, if you start treating yourself with a certain standard that you expect to be treated, then you're going to notice when other people are treating you that way or not as well. You know, if you start to negative self-talk all the time and you're noticing that you're always beating yourself up in your head, then you're going to be more and more okay with other people doing that to you too. And that's how we start slippery sloping into those toxic relationships and friendships that are based in negativity and complaining and people just, you know, in general, you know, not treating you the way that you want to be treated. It has to start with yourself. Absolutely has to start with yourself. So one of the great things to do, if you notice that this is a pattern that you've been getting into lately, in addition to being more mindful of that voice in your head and stopping that negative self-talk and replacing it with something else as it happens, is I want you to also start cultivating a voice in your head. I want you to start developing a voice in your head. Really get into a relationship with the way that you talk with yourself. And I want you to start imagining that there's another aspect, another fragment of your consciousness that's like your best friend, or maybe it's, you know, a family member, or maybe if you're on the more spiritual side, maybe it's something like, you know, a Patronus or a spirit guide, or, you know, someone who is there, who's on your side, who is on your team to help you out, maybe a spiritual mentor, or, you know, a mentor that you create out of yourself, out of a fragment of your consciousness in your own head. And I want you to start thinking about how you would want that person to talk to you and the kind of support that you would want to receive, the kind of support that you want to give yourself, to become your own sort of mental coach, you know, your own sort of team player, your own person in your own corner. And so when I started noticing how much negative self-talk I had in my life, not only did I stop it when I noticed it starting, but I replaced it with something else. Because remember, the universe hates a vacuum. So it's not enough sometimes just to try and get rid of a behavior. It's much, much more effective. You can try, but it's much, much, much more effective to also replace that behavior with something positive. So if I notice that I'm talking crap about myself in my head, then I try to stop it in the moment and I try to replace it with something else. So it's like, you know, like I said, it's like, oh, if I lost my keys, you know, oh no, I'm not stupid. Okay, cut that out. You're not stupid. You're a very smart person who happens to have a lot on her mind today. You've got a lot on your to-do list and you happen to misplace them. But you know what? You're doing so much right now. I'm so proud of you. You're really, you know, you've got so much that is going on, that you're really trying to work towards a better life. You're really trying to create something for yourself. You're really trying to create a better life for yourself with everything that you have to do. And you're focused on so many different things right now. You've got so many plates spinning in the air that you happen to misplace something. So, you know what, chill out. You're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be great. So, oh look, and you left them right there on the counter. They were right in front of you the whole time, you know? So I want you to start developing that habit. And sometimes it can even be really, really helpful to picture what that voice in your head looks like, who they are, and that, you know, it doesn't have to be a specific person in your life. In fact, I would almost advise you not to anchor it to someone that, you know, that you already know, or even if you know, from your past or from your family or whatever, because that person is already, you know, embodied in an independent form. I want you to think of it even more as, you know, you could think of it as your guardian angel. You could think of it as, you could think of it as a tree, you know, your favorite tree who suddenly has a voice and is speaking to you. It really doesn't matter. It could be a cartoon character, it could be a character from a movie, but whatever you choose, I want you to start replacing that negative voice in your head with that character that you're imagining, that person who is in your corner, that person who is going to be having your back at all times. And, you know, this actually is a technique that was developed called compassionate mind training. It was specifically developed for people who are highly self-critical, because sometimes in the personal growth communities, and even in some sort of therapy modalities like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, we focus so much on our own responsibility, on our own accountability, and believe me, that's a great thing to do. That's so much of what I teach, is to really own and take responsibility for your own actions. But sometimes if that veers toward the negative too much, then we start actually beating ourselves up. This is my fault. I'm the one who created this. I attracted this into my life or whatever. And that actually isn't helpful, certainly not when it gets to that point. So what you want to do instead of doing that is you want to start creating that voice that is going to be compassionate to you, that is going to be in your corner. So you're not engaging in those highly self-critical behaviors, that you're not blaming yourself for everything around you that is happening to you. So you're not blaming yourself for the vibration that you're attracting or whatever. So you want to start installing that voice. Imagine if your body and your brain together working in harmony are like an operating system on a computer. You want to install that voice. You want to install that other, fragment of your consciousness that's going to show up and help support you and be there in your corner and have your back for all your goals that you're working towards. So, what I like to do is, I tune into that voice. I tune into another version of myself. Maybe you could call it my higher self, like, the idea in my head of me when I'm at my best. And it's like me when I'm at my best, up there in the ether is, showing up in my mind to help human me who's still losing her keys places or tripping in front of her crush or, whatever my human self is doing at the time to totally embarrass me. I almost did it there, right? No, but everyone's doing their best. I'm doing my best. See, I just switched it. I'm doing my best. I'm doing a great job. I'm getting better and better every day. And I believe in myself, and I believe that I'm going to move forward and continue to open myself to receiving all kinds of amazing happiness and success. So there, see, I just switched. It's that easy. It's literally that easy. The problem with this is that we often don't think about it enough. We just let these voices run the show without being mindful of the way that we're talking to ourselves. And some of you guys know, if you know some of my past, I used to work as a dating coach. I used to, to talk about this sometimes with Neil Strauss, who was the pickup artist who wrote The Game. And one of the things that he used to say to his students all the time is he would say, "Why are you so afraid of approaching that woman over there? Because the things that you're already saying to yourself in your head are 100 times worse than anything that woman at the bar is going to say to you when you approach her. So it's like you're already doing it to yourself. What's the worst that can happen? Can you start talking to yourself more and more kindly so that you can start to anticipate that people are going to start treating you better? And the miraculous thing that happens when you start doing this is that when you start doing this, you start to become more and more in alignment with accepting, that kind of treatment, that standard, that bare minimum, that modicum of compassion and kindness and support. So that if you do meet someone, if you do walk up to that person at the bar and they do say something really rude to you, or you do trip in front of someone that you find attractive and they laugh at you instead of, helping you up or whatever, then what's actually going to happen is your mind is going to become so accustomed to the kind and compassionate way that you've been speaking to yourself in your head that when someone else does something that's not in alignment with that, you're going to be like, wow, what's their problem? And you're just going to kind of laugh it off, and you're going to be like, wow, well, I guess I didn't like them that much after all, because if that's the kind of negative person they are, that's that's not what I need in my life. That's not how I treat myself. That's not how I treat my friends. So they're just they're on another level over there, and they can go have fun over there. I'm going to be over here being nice to myself, choosing friends and lovers and partners who are also nice to me, who treat me well, who treat me the way that I want to be treated, and most importantly, who treat me the way that I'm already treating myself. Because if we're already treating ourselves well, then we are going to attract more and more people who are in alignment with that, because it's what we're already used to. So if you notice that it's like this tiny thing, but it's huge, right? If you notice that you're engaging in negative self-talk, I want you to start noticing the ways that that's going to have all these ripple effects in the rest of your life, and especially in your social circles and the people who you keep around you. So the good news is that you can change this, as I said, immediately starting today. Just start to become more mindful of those voices in your head, especially that one voice that talks to you in the language that you're familiar with. And I want you to be more mindful of it, and I want you to start to take control of the way that it speaks to you, because of course it is you. It is a fragment of your consciousness, and you're absolutely in control of the way that you talk to yourself. And if you do that starting today, and if you start to practice that and assimilate that into your everyday life, I guarantee you, not only are you going to be happier, not only are you going to be optimized for more and more success, more and more receiving of abundance, but you're also going to attract better and better people who treat you the way that you want to be treated. It all starts with talking to yourself the way that you want want to be talked to. And that is something that is absolutely 100% under your control and will ripple out into the rest of your life as well. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, remember, you can check me out at the Repatterning Project, and the link is in the description box below. I would love to answer your questions a little bit more about the work that we do and get you on track to that happy and optimized life. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.